Are you ready? Are you ready to pod it up?
Let's go. Let's have fun.
Pete-cast it. This is the Simply Youth Ministry Podcast with Doug Fields,
But we are an award-winning podcast. We gotta start promoting that.
Matt McGill,
Let's soak up that awesomeness. How great is this?
Wow.
Josh Griffin,
Just to throw it in there, not all of our shows are going to be great.
and Katie Edwards.
That's what the teens are saying.
Write in. We'll answer your email.
SYMpodcast@gmail.com.
2, 3, hey! Welcome to the Simply Youth Ministry Podcast.
I went to the doctor like 3 weeks ago.
Episode
I'm not contagious.
160 with Doug Fields, Matt McGill, Josh Griffin, and the co-host, Katie Edwards.
Yeah, I know. He's trying to get up in the funny ranking of the four of us. So
Come on.
don't be
call
hurt.
you Kathy Fields right now.
For what?
The least funny in our family.
Well, she's the smartest, so
And the
I'd
nicest.
rather.
So.
Yeah,
That's true.
definitely nice.
She doesn't have a mean streak.
Yeah, definitely nicest.
Anyway, welcome back.
I don't know.
Katie?
Cody's pretty nice.
Cody's nice.
I do like. Is his birthday this week?
It's in
In September.
Dang it! Cheers.
Facebook's
Just want to be ready. Guys.
Yeah, but thanks for praying for him while he's in Africa.
See, just mean.
Oh, I just assumed you were.
I actually do every third Monday. I do.
every third Monday.
Yeah. Well, too much. I don't want the kid to get cocky. So keeping it real. Yeah. Bless him today.
All right. Hey, you have...
Are we doing a podcast?
Yeah, we're
Here we
doing
go.
a podcast. You have the opportunity to send in questions to sympodcast@gmail.com. And I read everyone, print them out, and
Throw them away.
host a show
Thank
You
for
are
working
a show
so hard.
hoster.
that I invite 3 of my friends into, and usually
Invite or arm
one
twist?
to 2 of them show up.
Thank you
Here we
for all
are
of your
today.
hard work.
3.
Appreciate you.
All right. This is from Louis Menevere, Cornerstone youth pastor. I'm watching episode 158, and McGill's lesson learned made me pause the video so I can write you guys and say thank you. This may be the first, in 160 episodes, the first true legitimate praise of McGill.
Wow.
The first legitimate praise of McGill? Is
Well,
that what you're saying?
There's been, many people like you, but
Right.
this one doesn't feel snide.
This one's
I haven't even
affirming
finished
your
reading
wisdom.
it. and
Yeah.
it's-
Right.
Already defensive.
No, it's not affirming his
backhanded.
wisdom. I think it's affirming his sincere enthusiasm.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
That's
which
new.
People who know Matt would think it's sarcasm, but it's not.
There's a difference.
It says it was great to see McGill's enthusiasm about God doing something in the teen he was meeting with. Cork is what it sounded like. Is that his name?
Court.
Cork.
But with the way I mumble, Cork
Cork
is
is-
pretty dang close.
Close.
Cork is a total California name, though, too. Like,
Really?
name this kid. I don't know.
Cork?
I don't know.
Cork.
How many corks you got in
Apple.
your youth group?
Exactly. None. I'm just saying it sounds like a... See, he's
Your
just...
funniness. is
Yeah.
just-
He's...
Are you going to bring it?
We had so much interaction on the pre-show.
When have I
now.
not brought it?
responded back saying, when have I not brought it?
And I was like, what does he mean? He's supposed to bring me a video game.
Okay, we've just now brought our pre-show into the show.
Chris is going to put the pre-show in the show.
No,
he
he's
can do
not.
it. You
No.
can do it.
No,
We don't have to do it.
If you censor out a few things, you can totally
No,
put that
there's
on.
no
Don't do it. Don't do it.
So in the pre-show, let's just get it over with so we've all voted that I was the funniest.
Yeah, that's how it happened.
Second is Griffin writes McGill an email last night that says, "Are you going to bring it tomorrow?" And McGill thinks like, "Are you going to bring it on the show, or are you going to show up?"
Right.
Which is a fair question about Matt. Are you going to bring it? Because 1 out of every 5 shows he does.
Yeah, indeed
and
does
it was
bring it.
nice that this is show 160 and Griff is being concerned as the co-host of the co-host, that Matt would actually bring it. So he says, "Are you going to bring it?"
Right.
And Josh is thinking what?
Video game. We've got a video game in this thread. We're talking about a game.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yes, please bring it to the podcast tomorrow.
I just thought you were fired up about the podcast.
And he says, when have I not brought it to the podcast? I'm like, that's weird. Delete.
But That's not weird, because
Like,
it's totally true.
It's totally McGill going, yeah, of course I'll bring the game, you idiot. And I'm like, all right, great.
Oh, you thought I was calling you an idiot?
About the
no,
video
just
game.
being a McGill. Yeah, so I guess kind of calling you an idiot.
All right, so
but-
now we've caught everybody up to our
happening
useless
in this
lives.
planet?
So you're not bringing it, and you didn't bring the game either. Yeah. And that's what sucks.
So you're 0 for 2.
Oh.
But Lewis
Four
Menevar
I'm 2 for
is bringing it.
Yes,
to
he
you.
is.
So let's get back to this.
In court.
I'm watching episode 158. McGill's lesson learned made me pause the video so I can write you guys and say thank you. It was great to see McGill's enthusiasm about God doing something in a teen he was meeting with. I felt like I got a great tutorial reminder on how to lead a teen toward discovering the voice of the Lord, making Scripture relevant in their lives, and then encouraging what God's doing in their lives. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
That is a nice email.
That is.
Matt.
You should frame that.
It's great to have you back in the
Thank
local
you.
church. This felt right, sorry.
All right.
One down.
Don't apologize if it feels right.
This is from A.J. Bauer. Bueller.
Cork.
Here you go. Bueller.
I can-
Actually, Bueller.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
that.
Sans the Sans is funny.
I like
I like him already.
Comic
Liberty
Sans.
Town's
Bauer.
Church of Nazarene. No, it's not.
Bauer.
Bueller.
Bueller.
A.J. Bueller. I'm part of a volunteer team almost 2 years now, working with a youth pastor who was cut to part-time last month for financial reasons after 5 years of full-time ministry. Ouch. I started watching at 00, but after you'd done a lot of episodes, I didn't like it. Stopped watching. Obviously, AJ had some sin in his life.
Yeah, clearly Aiken is his nickname. Here we go.
Came back months later, watched the most recent episode, and loved it. I wonder what changed.
Katie,
Maybe.
welcome. Welcome to the
I was
show.
kind of thinking he dealt with the sin in his
Oh,
life.
sorry,
The
yes.
show's always been
Might
good,
have
but I
just
can
been
see
good
why.
co-host.
If you were funniest,
Yeah.
we would have known that.
I am now hooked. I went back to the early episodes, and I'm loving them now, too.
Oh.
I'm working my way through to become a revirginated listener and get on your
Working my
rewind
way.
wall. Thanks for the laughs, advice, and encouragement. By the way, you guys have given me grief for not... I hung one today.
Good job,
You
buddy.
did.
Yeah, I need to get it
You
on the
got
wall.
like
But,
top billing on the side.
Yeah, they're
there.
covering up.
yeah. Well, I didn't bring any
Man.
tape or staples in here.
Yeah, one step at a time, man. One
Yeah.
step at a time.
Well, I stapled the picture together.
They're covering.
Actually, I
up
think he's
Brazel's-
joining me for lunch tomorrow. I'm going to, not tomorrow, what's tomorrow? No, I'm flying to the Orange Conference.
Oh,
and
cool.
I'm speaking on Friday morning, and some of our podcast team, we're going out to lunch.
With Brian's
Switarski.
Fun.
Fun.
Switalski.
Fun.
If you love them, you'll buy their lunch.
I love them, but there's going to be more of them than me. So I think we should all pitch in and buy my lunch.
I think that's
Acts
reasonable.
chapter 2 did it.
I know. I was going to say that. I'm just learning from Griff.
Are we going out back today or what?
I can identify a little with the email from the youth pastor who was ministering to a family when the mom died. I cried when you read his email. Just before Thanksgiving, a father of 3 students who had been in my small group the previous spring died of cancer. Hearing the positive impact, the honor of caring for students in pain is quite encouraging to me. Thanks for all you do, and thanks to the youth pastor for sharing. That was Craig.
I remember that email.
Pfeiffer from
great.
Walla Walla,
That was such
Washington.
a great email.
I took Josh's advice
That was
and
great.
I posted it on my blog.
This is your best post so far.
Wait a minute, you have a blog?
Yeah.
Ooh, that helped
Yeah.
your ranking. Doug, Matt, you're dead heat for number 2.
Number two,
Yeah.
buddy. Number two.
About the same traffic as you get.
Yeah. I doubt that.
We're all
Millions
we're
of
all
people.
just in the shadow of more than dodgeball anyway.
Cha-ching.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why don't you blog, Katie?
She writes books.
Oh,
I feel like I've written a lot of your blogs.
Oh man.
Was just in a meeting with
Yep.
Katie today. Got a blog of that. What
man, she's brilliant.
Katie say?
Live, learn, lead. 3 bullet points. All start with L. This is a great post.
When is it you like to leave youth ministry again? Oh, that's good.
All right, after a really tough day, okay, I'll put that down. Stress, Matt, okay. Jerks. You're all jerks.
That's good.
But it is a great blog from what I hear.
It is.
It's from what
I've
the
been
people are
reading
saying.
your blog, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I
think
appreciate
it's
that.
great.
Oh, well, read it, just don't read into it.
That should be the byline.
I like
more than dodgeball. Read
I
it.
like
Just
it.
don't read into it.
Read it. Don't read it.
Is Doug Fields made your RSS feed? DougFields.com.
I don't know what that is. I'm
Ah.
sorry. But I have read your blog, and the things you sent me was working. Loved. So.
Good.
The-
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Goals and things that
Oh, yeah. Oh, I got a new one.
Oh,
Yeah,
fancy.
somebody sent me a new one. All right. This is from Dylan from First Assembly of God in Washington, Missouri. First of all, thanks for what you do. You provide the companionship at times when I feel like no one understands my struggles.
I get confused when the name of a city is the name of a state.
I agree. It's
I'm
really
sorry, I
unfair.
know you started that. I needed to pause before I could hear the question, and I thought maybe some of our listeners did too.
Some of our team, you mean?
Team, who happens to be doing the act of listening. Because team isn't a verb. I needed a verb in that sentence.
The pre-show is so strong. All right, here we go.
I'll try to give you an overview of my situation and then ask the question. I had to remove a young man, 20 years old, from our leadership team because he was pursuing a relationship with a 15-year-old student. The rules were laid out very plain ahead of time, and he knew them. He lied about it. Later, he admitted that he lied to me because he felt God wanted him to reach our young people, and he knew I would not like his pursuit of the girl. My problem comes now, he's no longer a leader, which nicely done.
Sounds great.
And he's not allowed to come to any youth events. In the last 6 months or so, he has worked his magic on about 5 or 6 girls. I'm not exactly sure what that means. So he worked his magic.
He's a player.
Like he's built
Which card, any
relationships
card?
Never
with
seen
them,
Harry Potter?
Probably, maybe
Okay.
a little bit more on the side.
Yeah. 3 of these girls are youth. Basically, I don't know what I should do at this point. He's causing lots of issues amongst our girls. Since he's no longer under my authority, I'm not sure what to do. Got any help?
I wonder if he's still a member at the church.
Is castration an option?
Eunuch. Well, he's still
choir
under your
needs some
authority.
help.
I think he's still under the leader's authority.
I mean, if he's at the church still.
At the church, affecting the youth group, he's very much under his authority.
So what do you do?
I would repeat the conversation.
Yeah, talk to him again.
Give him the benefit of the doubt that he's just in a rut and it's tough to change a practice or a habit or whatever, an unhealthy desire. So
It's tough when you're 20, 21 years old to stop liking 14, 15-year-old girls.
yeah, some people never grow up. So I would talk with the guy again.
Whoa.
No.
I would talk with the guy again and start there, and then
Oh, some people never grow up.
Yeah.
When you say it, that just was inappropriate.
Matt, you forgot my video.
Look at Matt's hair today. He kind of looks like a monk.
I need a
Clooney,
haircut.
Like old school Clooney.
How did you not get a haircut? You tweeted about that like 10 days ago.
Just been busy.
Dylan, I'd say this. If you feel like you shouldn't approach it, ask the pastor to approach it.
Yeah.
Then say, we're going to talk to, if your parents go to our church, we're going to bring your parents involved. I know you're 20 years old, but we're going to make this a church discipline issue. I mean, this is a big
As
deal.
leadership in the church, even though he's not in the youth ministry anymore. You still have to
Absolutely.
respond.
Absolutely.
And talk to the girls. I mean, I'd talk to the girls that are in your youth ministry and just say, hey, it's not the best idea. I mean, for you to be hanging out with this person. Obviously, you can't drop an ultimatum on the girls' side of things to say, hey, thou shalt not hang out with this dude. Even if you could, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't make sense. But
I think, if you have to get to that point, I'd deal with it with a spiritual leadership point of view. If the guy goes to the church, get the pastor involved, get the elders involved, excommunicate him.
And there was people that Paul wanted to be castrated, so that's biblical.
So you're going back to that.
Yeah.
Castration. Cool.
Emasculation, I think is the actual word.
I like that. So the answer again is talk to them. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He's into legalism too.
This is from Thomas Brown. Thomas says, my name is Tom Brown, and I'm the minister of students at Oak Ridge Baptist in Covington, Kentucky. Instead of talking about how awesome the podcast is and how every time I listen to it I found encouragement and confidence, I'm going to get right to the questions. I have 3 questions. I know you probably won't be able to answer them all. You could divide them up to have Doug, Matt, and Katie answer each question, then have Josh say afterwards, I have nothing to add to that. So So,
Real funny, dude. Wow. Real funny. What's his name? Covington what? Baptist what?
Tom, T-H-O-M.
Don't like you.
Tom.
Can I block someone from my blog?
See, now here,
You would
look
never
at how
do that.
wounded
I would.
you get ripped like this all the time.
And I just
one
feel like
time,
it's that person's loss.
And one time, Griff gets ripped, he goes pouty.
No, here's the thing.
But see,
Dang
but
it.
that's
Right.
the difference. You guys like people.
That is the difference.
As
Well,
does
see,
the Lord.
Just kidding.
The
I
beauty
like
of Doug controlling the emails is when he reads one of those about himself, he just goes, "Oh, this one, oh, this will be great."
Yeah, he has his team.
Hey,
Exactly.
many times I've asked you guys if you would like to actually play a role other than just sit and cackle to actually prepare the show.
No. We've offered before, and you said, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Remember back when I was hosting the show? Remember that?
That was a
two
great run.
episodes.
Been
That was a
way
great
before
run of two.
Yeah.
Two
Anyway, he asked 3 questions, but we will get to one.
I have nothing to add.
Let's hear all of them.
Dude, look at how long.
Oh
Josh
my
is out.
goodness!
Yeah, it's
I'm out.
It's a page and a half.
They're not even good
out.
questions.
Josh, you can copy those as a blog.
Oh, I'm back in.
Maybe Katie should answer him first, and then
Oh, yes.
all right.
I'm just gonna.
He says, I love to teach and wanting to know if what I'm teaching is understandable. I constantly ask the adult helpers how it's going, but I know that a student's perspective may be completely different. I don't want the students to feel like they need to grade me either. I finished Doug's book, Speaking to Teenagers, a couple months ago. It has definitely helped me to be more effective in my sermon prep time. I tried not to laugh at you just falling on that cup right there. But I couldn't. I was trying to ignore your childish behavior, Matt.
It's a weak cup.
I finished Doug's book, blah, blah, blah. I even enjoyed that he referenced Matt's World of Warcraft username. After realizing that he did that, I also decided I may be a podcast addict. All right.
I've been thinking, is there a way to get feedback from students? I mean, what would be a good way to get feedback from students, on your messages? I mean, other than personal conversations and
Well, let's go to the bigger principle first, and we'll go down
Yeah.
specific. And I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago, and if we didn't, maybe I was speaking somewhere and I did it in Q&A time or something. But communication, a lot of times early in the ministry, I'd drive home from youth group or something, and I'd say to Kathy, "How'd you think that went?" After a message,
Right.
Or and the reality is it didn't really matter what she thought.
Right.
And what drove me nuts, so this is a little aside, Kathy doesn't answer quickly to anything. So how'd you think that, how do
She
you
and
think
I
my
have that in
message
common.
was? Yeah. And she'd just pause, and she'd be thinking about it. And that pause felt like an hour,
yeah.
just to go, oh, what did I do? What did I say this time? I can't believe I suck. Blah, blah, blah. And then she'd go, oh, it was really good, really good. I'm like, forget it. After like 5 times, I stopped asking because that pause was too painful.
the painful pause.
Oh, blog post.
Look to Katie.
Can you write that for me?
But the reality is, it's not what other people think. So
Yeah.
last Saturday when I spoke and I sit down and Josh does a great job, I appreciate that. It means a lot to me, and I value your opinion on that. But the reality is did a 14-year-old make sense to a 14-year-old?
Right.
We got to remember our audience when we're communicating is not our other leaders.
Totally.
So our other leaders grading us or giving us feedback, I think they can help us craft it and, for the next time or whatever. But really, communication is evaluated by the audience. So it's not even how we feel as
Right.
communicators when we go, oh, I really felt good about that message. Well,
Yeah.
Right.
great. But did they?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get, one of the things that you talk about in your book, and I'm sure in your seminar, that's a one day, blah, 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 blah. That's me trying to do a plug. But
Nice commercial.
Really good job on that.
Super.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that.
What's the name of your website?
Love God.
More than loving.
More than better than, much better than.
I don't love
hatingpeople.com. Gerbilslayer.net.
I'm in it for the
Go ahead, Matt.
money.com.
We're listening.
I'm not fueled by approval. Sorry.
Look at you were looking for approval. I'm not fueled by approval.
I was looking for you. I was looking for you guys to own up. No.
Guilty. Happy.
What I was gonna say, what I've been challenged in reading the Speaking to Teenagers book is the reading the audience while you're talking. Trying to really take the cues from what's going on there, because, I mean, for years, you've been the master of that. I mean, I'm not even sure you're giving a message so much as you're paying more attention to what's happening in the room. I mean, there would be times that Glenn or someone would walk into the room in the middle of like halfway through your fourth point, and somehow you got that, hey, it's 7:22. Where was, why did Glenn walk in? It's like you were teaching your message. How did you know that was happening in the room? But for me, like, that's where I'm working on myself. Just trying to pay more attention to, like, not just expressing what I have, like, oh, I've done all this prep and now I just need to go, to say, okay, I need to give my message, but be slowed down enough to read the audience better.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to read the audience better on the fly as the message goes, which I think is good to learn how to do. But I would love to be able to get more feedback. I'd love to.
Well, you do that meeting with your students, right? But that's not really feedback. That's like pre-input, I guess.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. I don't like this guy.
We're still on this guy. That's right, huh?
Yeah. So that would be
You're
really
good.
good. That would be a good
You're
insight to add to that. I can't. I just can't. I actually have a couple more that I'm just gonna hold back.
You're just
Maybe
gonna hold
blog on them later.
Yeah, the painful pause.
It's fine.
It's tough in junior high because I feel like even the crowd, even reading my crowd is, I just think they're not, a junior high audience is a little bit different than a high school audience, I think, in the teaching part, because I think you lose them, you get them back, you lose them, you get them back, and they kind of come and go throughout the whole message, and so they're a funny crowd to read in the moment. So I feel like any input I have to try to get from them afterwards, you know, like during, I feel like I have I don't know. It's so hard to gauge them in the moment.
Yeah.
So.
It's good.
Well, there's in our bulletin. Can I just ask you to stop that?
Sorry.
Let me just take that from me. Thank
Sure.
you.
I didn't know that was bothering you.
No, the crackles, at first they were amusing,
Right.
and then they turned to
I didn't even
obnoxious.
hear him. I just was so focused on the podcast.
Is in a bulletin, at Saddleback, we have a little tear-off sheet, and a lot of times I'll say, hey, tear this off, and on your way out, put it in the offering, but, give me your thoughts, comments, what questions do you have, just to try to get some type of, feedback for it. What I've been doing lately, whether it's at Saddleback or somewhere else I'm teaching, because I did this last Saturday night when I spoke for your high school thing, Josh. I went out to dinner with some youth workers afterwards at a very, very nice place called Del Taco.
Sponsor of today's show.
And there were some kids from the high school group there, and I didn't know them, but they were like, "Hey, good, good job tonight, great message," or something like. So I go over to the table, and one girl goes, "Great message tonight," and I said, "Really? What was great about it?"
Yeah, what'd you like?
And I've just been asking more of the follow-up questions because
great message is too easy, rolls off the tongue. Everyone's going to say it no matter what.
Yeah, and when they see, well, they don't always say it to me. Maybe they say it to you, John.
I always say
to
it.
dig a little deeper, to say, well, tell me what connected.
Yeah.
And you have 2 or 3 conversations afterwards, and then you do it enough, you have an intuitive sense of what connects and confirmed by other people.
Totally.
It's also great to have teenagers in your house too, because then you hear immediately afterwards, what connected.
Well, and don't you think students are voting yes with their faces, with their attention, with whether their phone is out of their pocket or not? They're all the nonverbal stuff. They're grading you, but also by their attendance. And I realize a certain number of students are going to be forced to be a part of your ministry. You're not going to change the baseline. But part of they're grading everything about your ministry all the time. Not that everything has to be likable or easy on the ears or all that stuff, but I do think that you're always being graded, so you might as well get used to that.
Yeah. Well, you're being graded, and I guess it'd be interesting to get some feedback from people to write in at sympodcast@gmail.com to say, how do you evaluate that when you teach? Because you want to be able to say, well, by their life, is there fruit in their life? Well, that's great.
How many decisions were made?
You're not
All
seeing
those things,
that based on one message,
right? Yeah, well, at Saddleback too, one of the things that we do right away after the first service of the weekend, I realize that's not everyone's context, but we have a ruthless evaluation, and it's usually done by a few close people, and we kind of attack the sermon, the timing, the jokes, everything, and make sure that everything lines up and matches right and flows well. And we've completely gutted messages before, and by the time we deliver it, I would deliver it an hour later, it's literally like I'm following arrows and flipping pages and trying to, and it's much better.
Yeah.
So I do think some adult feedback. I have a meeting with students at 4:00 every Tuesday in my office, and they are incredible at helping craft the message beforehand. And they have veto power. I had a great idea, and they did not think it was great. And so it really was paining me not to be able to do this great idea. But they said no, and so we didn't do it. And I still think it would have worked, but but I honored this code that we have between. So part of a good preparation is preventing those accidents on the weekend where you go, crap, that didn't work.
Gospel by democracy.
Exactly. Message by democracy. I would prefer to call it collaboration. Highly collaborative personality, and so I involve students in that preparation. It saves me on the back end. Now, I've bombed on stage before. I've had good messages, bad messages. You can't prevent everything.
Yeah.
But I think doing your homework ahead of time can save you a lot of trouble.
Yeah. And your first part about the debrief afterwards, that doesn't fit 99.9% of our team. They're not doing multiple services.
Yeah.
Although it is a great, we did this last week, after the 4:30 service, I wouldn't say I totally sucked, but I wouldn't say it was my A game. And then after the 6:30 service, Josh and I looked at each other afterwards and went, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's the way it was.
But there's also that difference. You've already delivered it once.
Totally.
The crowd is different.
Crowd energy is better.
But I think for the rest of our team, and I do this with every message I do, I make my changes immediately afterwards.
Totally.
Like what I won't do next time, or take this out, or this didn't work, that type of thing. And then type those changes in and then save that document, because you're going to need that, that talk. You're going to do it again at some point.
Totally.
Gather all your learnings from that.
2 weeks ago, I had a buddy of mine. He was at both services on Saturday night, and he listened to the 4:30 and didn't have any feedback. It was fine. But he listened to the 6:30 and he was like, "Did you rewrite the whole message between services?" And I was like, crap, was it that bad? He's like, well, love you, but that's so
crazy.
Ruthless feedback helps a lot, even if you don't, you have to wait a week till you get to teach again.
But I think debriefing, even if you have only one service, I think debriefing after that service, regardless, for 5 minutes, great learnings on just, like you said, your message, great, you're storing that maybe for a future time, or just learnings in general, I think.
Well, I remember the first time that I was a part of the debrief when Doug spoke. He spoke in the adult services and invited us all back after the first one. And it was like, okay, guys, what do you got? And I couldn't believe that the guy would just be open to what amounts to pretty intense criticism while you're vulnerable, while you're the most tender, while you've got to deliver it multiple more times.
Yeah.
And so you've modeled it really, really well. That's where all of my inspiration has come from, because I've never seen someone go, okay, let's make it great. I know it wasn't great, let's make it great.
Yeah.
And the difference is palpable.
Yeah.
There's a big word.
Well, and the learning with our team to pass on, I don't just invite anybody into those sessions.
Totally.
Those are people who I go, they're going to love me no matter what.
They're trusted.
That I bomb, I bomb, and I know they've stepped on stage, or they know my heart, or they're looking out for me. Where they go, you say that and you look a little weird.
It's a pretty safe room.
Yeah.
Very, very safe.
In the sense that,
I like that. Anyhow,
this is from Andy Lawrenson from Nags Head Church, Nags Head, North Carolina.
any comments about Nags Head before we go on? Is your wife from there? Here we go. Continue.
Hey, podcast crew and team. Don't like more than dodgeball.com. I'm a faithful podcast viewer. I try to participate in the live show as much as possible, and when I can't catch it later, and have been with you guys on the podcast journey since the beginning.
Should we see if he's in the live show now?
Sure.
He's not.
I enjoy the podcast very much and look forward to it each week. I recently had to sit down with a volunteer who was upset because she was not chosen to be on our team for the summer camp. It was our first year to do our own camp. I looked at our space and budget and had to decide who to bring on the team for camp. Space was the biggest issue, both in transportation and the fact that our cabin only sleeps 40 people. I did not throw out an open invite to the team for camp. I chose the team specifically according to the needs that we had at camp and the best way to utilize volunteers with our space, and those that I felt would work best with me and others in a week-long, day in and day out situation. For 5 months, she allowed this to fester and be a burr under her saddle. And I had no
What they
clue.
have in Neg's head.
I had no clue she was upset. Now she's no longer on our volunteer team at all. So my question, how do I as a leader communicate to volunteers that sometimes events are open to all volunteers and other events volunteers will be hand chosen by me?
Well, wait till there's another interaction before you announce something to everybody. I mean, you don't need to, just because you had one person leave, chances are this person probably needed to leave anyhow. This was not the only issue that this person was carrying.
That's exactly what I would say too.
Yeah.
Search your heart and go. Was there any vindictiveness or problem that existed already, or when you set up the criteria, or when you handpicked the whatever, did you snub her just a little bit even? And is that what she's identifying? Or was she already wounded from something else and this was the one that pushed her over the bat? I would just say, I would start with your heart, and this sounds like it's her problem, which would make me go, well, dude, it might be your problem too.
I think that you can, up front with volunteers, let them know that, here are the multiple roles you can play, and, sometimes it includes events, sometimes it includes this ongoing ministry. I think you can be upfront with volunteers when they come on your team and just let them know, hey, I wish that I had the money to take everybody to everything, and I wish I could do everything. Where are you interested, so that if I do need to utilize you at camp, is that something? And kind of just keeping it with everybody. Hey, camp's always a possibility. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. You know. But, I tell leaders, there's leaders that I don't take with me to camp because I like leaders who are going to be ongoing. I like camp to be a setup for the next year. So there's some leaders who just want to come around just to do camp. And I'm like, I love you, but I can't take you unless you maybe want to invest with us long term.
My way,
and not that we are turning hordes of people away, but I think it's okay to be choosy at times when you can. And when there's specific volunteer needs, I think it's okay to be choosy, to meet certain students' needs or whatever. But I think just telling volunteers up front ahead of time, like, there might be times we don't need you, which sounds weird to say, but that's going to happen.
Well, and this is the type of situation where you learn a lot, where Andy has been wounded now in this situation, and you take that wounding, you just kind of turn it upside down and say, okay, I don't want this to happen again next year, so I need to be a little better at communicating up front. Hey, love you. Can't use everybody.
We can't take
throughout the year, and some of you are going to be offended by that, and I'm sorry. I take a bunch of things into consideration, and I think the more communication you do up front,
but the more light communication, the more you don't need to drop the heavy. Keep it breezy. You don't need to drop the hammer and say, "Look, some of you are not suited for some."
Totally.
That's good. That's a great problem to have, though. I mean, most people are
keeping it breezy,
getting
are
warm bodies,
for leaders,
dying to get anyone to
turn people away.
So to turn people away, good. That's a good problem. I know it's a problem, but congratulations.
Well, the other thing too is when you're making a decision like this. I mean, this is leadership. This is just first time I read it, I went, "That's what leaders do. Leaders have to make tough decisions, and they make tough decisions, and they get crap for making tough decisions." But as you make tough decisions, you go, okay, I'm leaving these 8 out. It probably, then you think, okay, maybe I make a phone call to these. I'll give you an example yesterday.
Great.
It actually affects you two. The National Network of Youth Ministries sent an email out to the Southern California and Nevada, Arizona about this student leadership conference at Azusa that I'm doing.
Yep.
Well, he says, instead of just sending out your HTML graphic, he says, tell me a little bit about it. I said, well, we used to do it at Saddleback, and it's one of my favorite things to do. And he says, well, why don't they do it there anymore? And I said, well, the staff is down. They don't have the octane. And honestly, it was my vision for it. So he sends it out, and he says, I talked to Doug the other day, and he said that, Saddleback doesn't have the octane or the vision to do it. And I read it, and I was thankful that he sent it out, but I thought, okay. So I just got on the phone, and I went,
douchebag?
No, not to him. Not to him.
To every youth pastor it went to.
No, but I thought, okay, I know Kurt's probably not a member of the National Network of Youth Ministry, and I knew I would see you guys today.
Yeah.
But I thought there is a slight chance that could be misinterpreted. Okay, and I'm not saying it exactly how it was written, because the guy who wrote it didn't think.
Right, there's no malicious heart.
Yeah,
Sure.
and those are two things that you two, and Kurt would agree with.
Right.
You didn't have the octane to pull it off, and it was my vision.
Right.
Absolutely.
So it's not like I'm making things up, but I just thought, that may reading that on your own, if it hits you at a wrong day.
How come Saddleback's not
You know.
doing it? Because they don't want to. I mean, now why would you even ask? Yeah, I mean.
But so anyway, what I did is I just called Kurt yesterday and said, hey, just want to let you know, I don't know if you've even seen this, and we talked for 3 minutes, and he's like, oh, no big deal, but thanks for,
Right.
My point is, I think there are times when you make decisions, you go, you know what, I better put a voice to this.
Sure.
And call that person and say, hey, just want to let you know we made camp decisions, and I don't need you this summer. And, I don't know on a scale of 1 to 10 what your enthusiasm was for that. I couldn't take everybody, but I just want to let you know. And that way, that person
that
doesn't
heart
fester
piece
for...
communicated.
Right. 5 months later, it finally comes up. It's
Yeah.
too late. She's done.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
over. Yeah, that's fair. And you might not be able to prevent a leader from leaving anyhow. You might not be able to prevent. It might be done. There might be no way to salvage that relationship either way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I just wonder if something was going on before then. Well, that might have been the trigger, but.
Here is a question from James in Oklahoma.
All right.
I'm full-time youth pastor worship leader with a youth group that has about 20 kids in it. Small church, small town kind of thing. Last week, a 16-year-old drummer of our youth band came to me and informed me she was quitting the group because she felt like a hypocrite. She'd been dealing with some doubt issues and wanted to sort through them. I agreed, since she wasn't quitting the church, just stepping down for a bit.
Out of doubt?
And maybe she'd come back to play at some point when we felt that her heart and mind were in the right place. This led to a larger discussion the following Friday via text message. She was asking some questions about heaven, hell, and judgment for people who commit suicide. When I asked why she was wondering about that, she told me that she'd been thinking a lot about it and was at the point where she didn't think that she was going to live past her senior year in high school. She added that God had failed her. She was angry at God because he let her down and not answered her prayers. I immediately contacted her parents about the situation. Her parents are divorced and don't attend our church. She comes with her aunt and uncle's family. They were obviously alarmed and since have sought out counseling for her through a local Christian counselor. So, James, great job.
Yeah, well done. That's
Now,
awesome.
as of Monday, she has informed me that she's settled things between her and God and she wants to play drums again in our band and everything was cool. But I'm also aware that she's gone through these depressive states before where she's mad at everyone and God and she's always right a few days later. Just seems really unstable. I know that most people who threaten suicide don't go through with it, but what do I do about our summer activities? We do a lake retreat as our summer camp, and we're going on a mission trip this summer. She signed up for both, and I want her to come, but there's some concern of the big what if. What if she does something to harm herself? Or someone else as well? What should be our criteria given this situation to allow her to come along? I want to reach out to her, but I also have to have other people's safety to think about.
That's a great question. Solid. It's real youth ministry happening right there. Love it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't see the question. I mean, why, if someone's struggling, why wouldn't you want them to be involved? Why wouldn't you want them to come to camp? Why wouldn't you want them to be connected? To be dealing with doubts is so different than to be struggling with sin and double life and spreading gossip and sleeping around and whatever, or saying the F word from when we had one of our singers singing a song and saying the F word and then going back to singing the song all on the mic. That's one thing. But a kid who is really struggling, why wouldn't you want him to be connected? I mean, that's just, I just don't, I applaud that whole thing too.
I think the same thing. I wouldn't have been as demeaning as you and saying I don't see the question.
Well, it's
but
just,
that's because I care about people's hearts.
yeah. Well, I mean, this is why, I mean, we're answering this in a room where this isn't a personal, the guy's not standing right
It's
here.
very personal to me. James Mitchell.
I mean, I agree. I think letting her be a part of the activities. I think the leadership piece, or letting her be in the band, maybe, if she took time to pause, maybe there's a few more conversations to have before she re-enters being visible on stage if he feels like more conversation needs to happen. But I think the retreats and stuff are, I don't know, I think life change, takes root and retreats and stuff. So I think those would be great opportunities for her to take steps forward and build relationships, and I think those.
Yeah,
would be
I think the
great.
same thing. Do that, and then if she's good and continues to do well by the fall, let her join regular again and jump back in.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now, when somebody is unstable, maybe one of the best things they need is some stability, and maybe the band was stability.
They used to treat years, like, I don't know the dates, but years and years ago when depression first became a thing, they used to treat depression with isolation. They thought that's what they needed to do. And I'm not saying that's what this person's doing, because that's not the case. Just saying not be involved with the youth group is not the same thing as isolation. So I'm saying that.
Yeah.
You're just saying don't misdiagnose.
But I'm
this
saying,
either.
well, no. What I'm
good.
saying is that if a person is struggling with depression, you can't put them over there in a corner and say, okay, deal with it, and then come back when you're ready. They need to be involved and connected and around. And yeah, it's an extra drain, and there's roller coaster and all
risk.
that.
Absolutely risk.
Sure, but
Yeah.
what youth event doesn't have risk?
Totally.
I mean, freshmen getting duct taped.
Well, and this is the kind of kid where you
Inmates going
go,
off.
at least
I mean-
you know there's a target on this kid.
Exactly.
In some ways where, the ones in suicide is becoming a much bigger deal than it was even a year ago or 2 years. I mean, the stats are going way up on
Really?
this. Yeah, way. Colleges are dealing with, I was talking to a resident director at a local Christian college yesterday. He said at local Christian college, Southern California Christian College, not Azusa, the one that I am a proud employee of, but another one saying that they feel like
Amazing I haven't learned how to play
one
better.
time a week they're dealing with either usually freshmen who are either threatening or going to somebody and saying, I'm having these thoughts.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's the kid where you just kind of, they take their life and you go, what? Where did that come from? At least with this kid, you go, okay.
You know her.
There's
You're already involved in her story.
Yeah, there's a mark. I would say to James also, in addition to, slowly bringing her back into the band and letting her go to camp like we've talked about, and it's always easier for us to say this, from thousands of miles away, is I would just make sure that this gal is loved on deeply by somebody. And maybe not James. Maybe there's a woman mentor that,
Yeah, absolutely.
maybe there's somebody in the church who's a drummer, who just would give lessons and hang out with her, and
That'd be cool.
not even involved in the youth ministry, but there's a woman there that loves Jesus, and I just would hate to see this gal be on her own. Hey, one last question. This is Tim Bailey. And Tim Bailey asks, it's just very long, it's like a page and a half. And Tim, I read the whole thing. And I would say, let me just give you a quick answer. And I'll try to make this transferable to the rest of the team. Basically, he was in a church. He had to leave the church because of leadership issues. A bunch of people have left the church. He feels terrible about leaving the youth group kids behind. He's actually gone back a couple times, and they're like, can you be the guy? Can you be the guy? But he knows that he's going to walk back into just a nasty situation with lack of leadership and everything that caused him to leave in the first place. The church he's at now, he really likes, but they have a 1-year policy saying you've got to go to their membership class and you got to be an active member for a year before you join a youth ministry team. And he's getting a little... kind of in this situation of going, should I go back in and be the lead guy of these kids that are, lacking
Dying in a
leadership,
pile,
or do I stay at this healthy church? I'm excited about this leadership, but I've now got to wait. And as I read it, my 2 cents is you wait. The same issues that you left that church for are still at that church. The pain and the hurt and the other reason those other leaders are leaving, it's systemic. It needs to be taken care of. You going back in and putting a Band-Aid on it's not going to change it. Maybe this is a time for you, the next year or however much time is left in that you do some healing in your own heart, you do some reading, maybe you take some youth ministry training, you prepare yourself to be an incredible leader for that church that
there's
you seem to be
on-campus
excited
stuff at
about.
your school, at the schools. I mean, if there's FCA or Young Life stuff that's happening at your schools that church feeds to, get involved there.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
Good.
Awesome.
All right, well, we hit our time mark. And Chris, any news from the live show that we need to communicate?
No, they're doing.
Episode 160. And
It'll be up in a month.
we'll be up in a month. Chris has been on vacation. Matt,
You
you're
can
so,
tell from that
you're
tan,
so mean
that
and
Hawaiian
condescending
tan
and
on him.
hurtful.
He's just got a tropical glow.
I think THOM, that other Tom that made fun of Josh, really should have taken Matt to
I'm still not on speaking terms with Tom. Where was he from? Copper's Tooth? Something?
Copper's too.
I forget.
Horsetail.
I like the Tom.
Never
Sorry.
seen you mad at someone.
I like everybody except in the whole world. 7 billion people minus one.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Poor Tom.
Gaddafi?
Tom, here's the deal.
No.
Tom,
Don't
the
soften
three
it.
of us love you more than
You
we
little-
make up
I
for
like
it.
you.
Yeah,
I don't know if I like Tom.
I do.
Thank you. See, friends stick
You
together.
You hurt
guys.
Griff, you hurt me.
Thanks for bringing the game
Wow,
today.
such
Yeah, bring it.
brotherhood.
Way to bring it.
Such brotherhood.
Love you, Tom.
All
JK,
right.
not really.
Hey,
Just
I
being
think
nice.
it's time we just the three of us we send Katie on her way because she has things to do, and we work on my talk collaborative.
That sounds a collaboration. I like it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got to be to Santa Ana in 20 minutes. So
all right.
What's
all
in
right.
Santa
Thanks for your
Ana?
help, guys. Bring it.
lunch out back
Well, who's
with my
lunch
friends.
Who are you doing lunch with?
He's making.
Goodbye.